It's Market Day Report. We're glad you're with us here on a Thursday, one day in front of the World Ag Supply Demand Estimates, or WASDE report. That comes out 12 o'clock Eastern tomorrow. We'll have the coverage for you then. All right, we've got a little canola in the background. How about we start with the canola market? This is a market that has done pretty well this year. As a matter of fact, finished higher yesterday, is up 10% year to date. Most contracts, though, are in the red. Let's go from there over to cotton. Cotton, how about China into the export sales for U.S. cotton, as they were buyers and also receivers of cotton, as they took, trying to find the number, they purchased 17,600 running bales of cotton, according to the weekly export sales report. 3 points higher here on the market. Let's go from there to soybeans. Hey, speaking of China, how about China in taking U.S. soybeans? This one kind of hid from us. 2.5 million bushels. It was flagged as late data in the export sales report. And then corn moving higher as well. Ted Seifried's with Zaner Ag Hedge. Hey, Ted, we get the export sales report. We've got the WASDE report. Could this steer the market one direction or the other?
Well, I mean, the WASDE report certainly will steer the market one direction or the other. Absolutely. I mean, we are very, very curious to see how the USDA's yield model applies to the balance sheet that we're going to see tomorrow. We know that this September yield is very tricky because they incorporate test plots in on this as well, which means they're going to get pod counts. And we saw out on the Pro Farmer Crop Tour that pod counts were very, very high. But they also incorporate a farmer survey, satellite data, and weather. And we know that August was the driest month that we've had since 2013. So how does that translate to a soybean yield? How does that translate to a corn yield? You know, who knows? So that's going to be the first thing we look at. But then also the USDA is going to update acreage. They're going to update demand. The ultimate bottom line, you know, the carryover number, that's really what's going to be what's going to dictate the direction of the market. There is a world that exists where corn and soybean yields come down possibly somewhat dramatically, and yet the carryover doesn't, because they offset that on demand. If that's the case, I think that'll be pretty bearish if that's what we see. But really, who knows? I mean, this is a report that has all the moving parts. Really, everything on this report can and possibly will change on this tomorrow. Now, for today, we have an outside reversal higher day going on in the soybeans, up 9.25 at the moment, looking pretty good. I think a lot of that is being fueled by, as you mentioned, China on an export sales list. Now, I very, very hesitantly said sales there because it wasn't a sale. This was not a sale to China. It was an old crop shipment that had been late reported of 67.2 thousand metric tons. Okay, it's good to see them. I think it's giving the trade optimism. I do wonder if some people in the trade are misreading that. But that was an old crop sale that happened a long time ago that did actually get shipped. We're not sure when it got shipped. It could already have been in China for a month or so now. And if it's not, if it has just recently been shipped, there is the possibility that China redirects it to another country or resells it to another country or just straight up denies it. That would actually be really bearish if that happens. So it's interesting. It's very interesting to see the strength that we have on the board here today for soybeans. Again, outside reversal higher day happening in front of a major WASDE report. That's not a very typical thing. I'm very curious to see if we'll hold on to the strength by the end of the day. I have my doubts.
Yeah, good points there. Ted, hang on. We'll take a break. Come back on the other side with proteins. This is Market Day Report. So no cash cattle in the south that we know of so far, but in the north, started 238 earlier in the week, and then, well, things kind of turned around and packers had to offer a little more. So we're at 240 now in the north. So that's $3 to $5 lower than the previous week. We're 5 to 7 lower on dressed. Live cattle futures right now higher across the board, up 237 on the October, 233.52. Every contract is in positive territory. Now the feeders have been the leaders to the lower side, as, again, just a couple of days ago, we had limit moves lower. Well, October, 353.92, it's up 352, and with the gains of $3.80 on January and March, takes our 3-day losses somewhere around that $6 range, high fives somewhere in that six. So Ted Seifried's with Zaner Ag Hedge. Has this been a good reversal here towards the end of the week?
I say it is pretty impressive. For the amount that we were down on Tuesday, we really didn't see a whole lot of follow through on Wednesday. It actually tried to go higher. We didn't close very well yesterday, and so I was sitting here thinking, wow, maybe this could be another bigger down day here today, and that's not been the case. I mean, it's actually been really resilient. Now, part of that is that $2 higher cash cattle, still lower for the week, but at least that slide has stopped. I think that's giving the futures market, both live cattle and feeder cattle, a chance to find some footing and try to see a little bit of a bounce. Here too, I'm wondering if we hold on to the strength here throughout the day into the close. This is another day where it feels like we could fade back to unchanged. And if we do that, then I really do think you might have a pretty bigger down day for tomorrow. But, I've been impressed with the strength. It's very early in the day. If it does hold on to this strength, it does look like maybe that was our little mini correction and we can come back up towards those highs again. But like I said, I'm very curious to see where we close here today. I think that's going to, well, give me a good idea of where we're going to go into next week.
All right, Ted, let's switch over to equities. I don't think we can ignore what's happening on Wall Street right now with the Dow. New record here. Thoughts?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's probably part of the reason why you're finding some strength in the cattle market as well. I gotta say, that equities market, a week ago or up until a few days ago, really looked like it was having a rounded top at this sort of multi-month double top, but it's broken out of that. It looks pretty good. I mean, with all the wild things that we have going on in the world, stocks are moving higher. They just like to do that. So it's good for the economy. Obviously, it bodes well for things like beef demand or just demand in general. But yeah, very strong, very stout equity market.
Love it. Ted Seifried's Vice President, Zaner Ag Hedge.